From the outside, Emily Dawson's life was flawless, a warm home, a loving husband, and a child whose laughter filled every room. But perfection is often the most delicate disguise. Beneath the painted smiles and quiet dinners, a storm was gathering, silent, patient, and inevitable. It began the night her husband called her foolish and told her to leave, unaware that the woman he dismissed was not just a wife, but a leader, a fighter, and the quiet architect of her own rebirth. The rain had not yet fallen that night, but the clouds were already gathering, thick, heavy, almost prophetic. Emily Dawson stood by the kitchen window, the faint hum of the refrigerator blending with the ticking of the clock. Her reflection stared back at her, a woman whose life, from the outside, seemed perfectly framed. A devoted wife, a gentle mother, a picture of contentment. But inside that reflection, behind the stillness of her eyes, there was a quiet tremor. Emily, Vio, we looked perfect from the outside. But sometimes, love hides more cracks than mirrors show. The Dawson home, on a quiet suburban street in Seattle, was everything one might imagine from a family magazine. White curtains, small plants by the sill, a child's laughter echoing faintly from the living room. Emily, 26, balanced a plate of pancakes while her son, Noah, giggled over a tower of toy blocks. Across the table sat Ryan, 30 years old, in a neatly pressed shirt, scrolling through his phone. His face was kind, yet something in his eyes always carried a flicker of worry, the kind that comes from years of shouldering burdens alone. Ryan had lost his father at 16. Since then, he'd worked tirelessly to care for his ill mother, to pay hospital bills, to prove, perhaps to the world, but mostly to himself, that he was enough. Emily knew that side of him. She had fallen in love with it. But lately, that strength had hardened into pride, and that pride had started building invisible walls between them. The morning calm broke when the front door swung open. Chloe, Ryan's younger sister, breezed in, bright red scarf, designer bag, the faint smell of perfume trailing behind her. She was 21, a college student in the arts, charming, impulsive, and utterly unfiltered. Chloe, good morning. I brought myself over. Hope you've got coffee. Emily, smiling politely, always plenty of coffee here. Ryan, warmly, hey kiddo. Long night at the studio again. Chloe, you could say that. Rent's due, art supplies are a nightmare, and I need a break from that dorm. She dropped her coat on the couch and slumped into a chair without waiting to be invited. Ryan, she's had a tough time in college, Em. Let her breathe. Emily, quietly, with a half smile, I'd just prefer she'd breathe somewhere else sometimes. The line was soft, but it lingered. Ryan laughed it off, unaware of the tension coiling beneath his wife's calm tone. It was a small moment, but small moments have a way of leaving the deepest cracks. Later that night, when the house had quieted and Noah had drifted into sleep, Emily sat alone at her desk. The screen of her laptop glowed faintly, lighting her face as she typed. The words on her email were formal, decisive, the kind written by someone who once commanded a room. But this wasn't just any email. It was a project proposal for Lumacraft, the handmade design company she had built from the ground up before marriage. She was no longer the public face of it. The company had grown, been rebranded, and managed quietly through others. But she still guided it in the shadows, in the silence of midnight. A message popped up. Grace M., her old friend, now an attorney, checking in on the upcoming product launch. Emily hesitated before replying. She didn't want Ryan to know. Not yet. As she hit send, a voice startled her. Chloe, wow, still doing your little crafts at midnight? Thought you gave that up. Emily, composed, just helping a friend run things. Chloe, smirking, you and your friends. Emily smiled faintly, closing the laptop. Her hand brushed a photo frame nearby, a younger version of herself, standing on a stage, blazer crisp, eyes bright, speaking to a crowd. The light from the lamp caught the glass just enough to blur her reflection. That was planting one, a secret life, quietly alive beneath the surface. Days passed in fragile rhythm. Chloe's visits grew more frequent. Ryan's laughter came easier with her around. Emily learned to stay silent to keep the peace. At dinner, Chloe made little remarks that stung but smiled sweetly afterward. Chloe, Ryan, remember when Mom used to say you'd marry a woman just like her? Guess she was right. Calm, quiet, always working in the background. Ryan, chuckling, I suppose that's not a bad thing. Emily, softly, as long as the background isn't the only place she's allowed to exist. The table fell silent for a moment. Then Ryan changed the subject. That night, the rain finally began to fall. Chloe wanted cake, a craving I can't ignore, at nearly 10 in the evening. Ryan sighed, then turned to Emily. Ryan, she's had a rough week. Could you grab one from the shop? The one she likes. Emily, it's late, Ryan. Ryan, firmly, it won't take long. Emily took her umbrella and keys without a word. The streetlights blurred through the downpour as she walked. The world outside was cold, but inside her chest, something far colder began to form, a quiet resentment she had never let herself feel. When she returned, the laughter reached her before she opened the door. Chloe, muffled, laughing, you deserve better, Ree. She's dull. Ryan, sighing, sometimes I wonder if she's happy with me either. Emily froze. The cake box trembled in her hands. The rainwater dripped from her umbrella, pooling at her feet. Inside, the two sat on the couch, unaware that every word had already broken something. Emily, Vio, the night it rained. I learned that silence can hurt louder than words. The thunder rolled in the distance. The perfect picture had finally cracked. The morning light fell across the Dawson home like a veil, soft, deceptive, and full of illusions. From a distance, the family still looked perfect. The husband leaving for work, the wife making breakfast, the child giggling beside the window. But beneath that quiet rhythm, cracks had begun to form. Ryan had been coming home later, his shoulders weighed down by something heavier than exhaustion. Emily noticed it in the way he loosened his tie in silence, in the way he avoided her eyes when she asked simple questions. Emily, long day. Ryan, they froze bonuses again. Company's cutting staff next quarter. Emily, that's rough. But we'll manage. We always do. Ryan, coldly, we? You work part-time, Emily. I'm the one holding this place together. The words struck like ice. Emily lowered her gaze. The skillet hissed softly on the stove, the only sound brave enough to fill the silence. She wanted to remind him that she had carried her share too quietly, invisibly, but she bit her tongue. Ryan's pride was not something she could confront without shattering something else. That night, she found him in the living room staring at old bills spread across the table. A faint tremor moved through his hands as he added numbers on his phone. Ryan, rent, loans, mom's medication. It never ends. Emily, you do not have to do it alone. Ryan, snapping, I do. Because I am the husband. The words cracked open the air like thunder. For a moment, neither of them breathed. Emily turned away, gripping the back of a chair until her knuckles whitened. Emily, softly, and I am your wife. Not your enemy. Ryan's face twisted with regret, but the apology never came. Instead, he stood, muttered something about work, and left the room. When the door shut, Emily sat down and buried her face in her hands. The sound of the refrigerator hum filled the emptiness once more, steady, relentless, merciless. Days bled into each other. Ryan's mood darkened. Chloe's visits grew longer. She brought her laughter, her perfume, her careless chatter, everything that made Emily feel small inside her own home. On a gray Saturday morning, Emily awoke to the sound of Noah crying. She ran to his room and found him kneeling beside the small wooden shelf. His piggy bank lay shattered on the floor, pink ceramic shards scattered like broken dreams. Noah, trembling, Mom, my money's gone. Did someone take it? Emily, kneeling beside him, it is all right, sweetheart. We will fix it. Noah, whispering, Mom, did someone take my dreams too? Her throat tightened. She pulled him into her arms and held him close. Emily, no one can take your dreams, baby. They are yours forever. For a moment, the camera of life seemed to slow. The ticking clock faded. The morning light froze on their faces, and time bent around the heartbeat of a mother holding her child. It was a small eternity of love and sorrow, still and heavy. When Noah finally drifted back to sleep, Emily gathered the shards into a box. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from the fragile realization that something in her home had broken long before the piggy bank did. That evening, she found an envelope half hidden in Ryan's briefcase while picking up the living room. Inside was a set of divorce papers, already signed on his side, dated weeks earlier. Her breath caught. Emily, you planned this. Ryan, freezing in the doorway, Emily, I do not know anymore. Emily, you do not know? Or you already decided? Ryan, you make me feel small, Emily. Every time you talk, every time you manage things so perfectly, it reminds me I am failing. He turned away, his voice breaking at the edges. Ryan, I am tired of being the man who is never enough. Emily stared at him, her heart aching not with anger, but with a sorrow too deep for words. She wanted to tell him that love was never a competition, that they were supposed to fight life together, not fight each other. But he was already gone, retreating into another room, into another style. She sank to the floor, That? She paw. It was R. The Lee. C.S.H. Rhea, Chloe. Chloe, no. Ryan, G.R.A. Chloe, yes. Y. A long silence. T. Ryan, maybe. C. Rhea, I am. C.H.L., maybe. Emily's heart pounded. The sound of her pulse drowned their voices. She. Inside, Chloe opened drawers, shuffled papers, searched through the desk. Ryan's sigh filled the air like a confession he could not take back. At last, Chloe said, we will look again tomorrow. Their footsteps retreated. The door closed. Emily remained hidden behind the corner wall, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. Her body shook not from fear alone, but from betrayal that felt colder than the rain outside. Emily Vio, the man I loved, was not gone, but the man standing beside me was no longer him. She waited until the house grew still. Then she went to Noah's room and sat beside his bed, watching him sleep. The moonlight painted his small face in silver, pure and untouched by deceit. Emily brushed his hair back gently. Her voice was barely a whisper. Emily, I will protect you, even if I have to lose everything else. Outside, the rain began again, soft, steady, relentless, washing over the fragile remains of what once was a perfect life. The morning after the whispers in the kitchen, Emily stepped into a quiet office lined with casebooks and soft lamps. The nameplate read Grace Monroe, attorney at law. Outside, the sky was a pale silver, as if the city itself were holding its breath. Grace rose to greet her with the steadiness of an old friend. Grace, you still have every right. And you have more than enough proof. Emily, proof of what? Grace, proof that your goodwill has been taken for granted. Proof that your home is no longer safe for silence. Emily exhaled slowly. Emily, I do not want a war. Grace, neither do I. We will not make noise. We will make truth. Emily, what if he denies everything? Grace, then let him hear himself. Grace opened a drawer and placed a small recorder in Emily's palm. It was simple, almost ordinary, yet it felt like the weight of a turning point. Grace, put this somewhere natural. Do not push him. Let him reveal what he wants. Emily, and if he reaches for what is mine? Grace, then you hold on to what has always been yours. Emily left the office with the recorder hidden in her bag. The rain had paused, but the air still smelled of it. She walked home with a stillness that was not weakness. It was resolve. The house wore the quiet of early evening. Noah drew quietly at the kitchen table, sketching a blue whale with a crown and a smile. Emily kissed his hair and tucked him into bed early. She hummed a tune from years ago, from a softer time, until his breathing slowed and steadied. In the living room, she arranged flowers in a glass vase. She slipped the recorder beneath the lilies where the leaves fell in a gentle arc. The red light blinked once, then disappeared into green. The room returned to calm. She waited. The front door opened with a tired scrape. Ryan entered. His eyes were shadowed. Chloe followed in a draft of perfume and complaints. Chloe, It was a nightmare at the registrar. They will not release my schedule until the fee clears. Ryan, Chloe, please. Chloe, I am just saying. We would not be in this mess if she did not keep secrets. Emily stepped into the frame of the doorway. Emily, secrets? Is that the new word for privacy? Ryan, to Emily, where is your savings, Em? Emily, savings? Or the bailout you promised your sister? The air turned sharp. Ryan, answer me. Emily, answer me first. He took a step closer, then stopped, as if the floor itself warned him. Ryan, I am drowning, Emily. I am watching everything slip. I cannot breathe in my own home. Emily, you cannot breathe because you keep holding your breath. You call it pride. I call it fear. Chloe rolled her eyes and moved to the desk. Drawers clicked. Papers shuffled. Chloe, she is hiding something. I saw messages with Grace Monroe. People do not talk to lawyers for fun. Emily, Grace is my friend. Chloe, friends do not help you at midnight. Ryan's hand clenched at his side. Ryan, do you have accounts I do not know about? Emily, do you have debts I do not know about? Ryan, this is not about me. Emily, it has always been about you. Silence held, fierce and bright. Emily reached behind the vase and pressed a button on her phone. The speaker filled the room with a thin, familiar echo voices caught in a net of truth. Chloe's recorded voice, if she has cash cards or accounts, you need to find them. Ryan's recorded voice, I am not that kind of man. Chloe's recorded voice, maybe it is time you start being one. The present froze. Ryan stared at the vase as if it had grown eyes. Chloe took a step back. Chloe, you recorded us? Emily, I recorded my life. It was leaving the room without me. Ryan's voice fell to a whisper. Ryan, Emily. Emily, yes. Ryan, turn it off. Emily, no. Chloe grabbed her bag. Chloe, I do not need this. She fled down the hall, the door slamming like a shot. The walls trembled. Then the house was quiet again, except for the sound of someone finally running out of excuses. Ryan stood very still. Ryan, I crossed a line. Emily, you crossed many. Ryan, I did not mean to become this. Emily, you did not become this in a day. His gaze moved to the closed door, then back to her. The fight went out of his shoulders. Ryan, then what is left to say? Emily, only what is true. She walked to the dining table and opened her laptop. The screen glowed awake, and a familiar emblem spread across the light, Lumacraft. The homepage was clean and bright. A banner displayed a new collection that she had approved 2 nights before. Emily, do you remember the friend I keep helping? Ryan, yes. Emily, that friend is me. Ryan, I do not understand. Emily, I built this. I ran it before I met you. I still run it. Quietly. Carefully. So our home would feel gentle and ordinary. Ryan, you are the founder? Emily, I am the founder. I am the designer. I am the one you told to be grateful for permission to exist. He took a step back, as if the light itself had pushed him. Ryan, why did you hide it? Emily, I did not hide. I protected. I protected the part of me that knew how to stand. He lowered into a chair and put his face in his hands. Ryan, I just wanted to feel enough. For once in my life. Emily, then you should have tried being kind, not controlling. A long breath lifted his shoulders and let them fall. Ryan, I mistook your silence for weakness. Emily, and I mistook your pride for strength. They looked at each other across a small sea of lamplight, across a marriage that had forgotten how to meet in the middle. Ryan, is there a way back? Emily, there is a way forward. It is not the same thing. She closed the laptop and rose. The room felt larger, as if walls had moved. She walked down the hall to Noah's room. He slept with one hand open, as if holding a safer dream. She packed a small bag, a sweater, a book, a blue whale drawn in crayon, wearing a crown. In the doorway, Ryan waited. Ryan, where will you go? Emily, to a place where doors do not need to be recorded to tell the truth. Ryan, Emily, please. Emily, I have listened to your fear long enough. Tonight you will listen to mine. It says we must leave. She lifted Noah into her arms. He stirred and rested his head against her shoulder. As she passed the living room, She paused and looked back at Ryan. For a moment, sorrow and mercy met in her eyes. Emily, I hope you find the man you wanted to be. Ryan, I hope you never doubt the woman you are again. Emily reached for the handle. The hallway light framed her like a quiet benediction. She stepped over the threshold with the soft weight of her child and the firm weight of her decision. The door closed behind them. The click rang through the house like a verdict and like a beginning. The morning light spilled through the curtains like liquid gold, touching the edges of a new life. Emily Dawson woke to the sound of birds outside her parents' house, a sound she had almost forgotten. For the first time in months, her sleep had not been cut by whispers, nor by the echo of arguments. Only the soft rhythm of her son's breathing beside her. Noah stirred, his small hand resting on hers. Noah, Mom, is this home now? Emily, smiling, yes, sweetheart. For a while, it will be. He smiled, the kind of smile that carried forgiveness. By late morning, the living room had transformed into something that looked almost like an office. Emily's laptop sat open on the table, surrounded by scattered papers and a coffee mug that read Lumacraft, handmade with heart. Her parents moved quietly in the background, her mother arranging flowers, her father reading the newspaper, but glancing at her every few seconds, as if to make sure she was truly there. A familiar chime echoed from the computer. The screen filled with faces, her design team, her people. Emily, softly, good morning, everyone. Team member, good morning, Miss Dawson. We were worried we lost you. Emily, smiling, not lost. Just rebuilding. Her voice was steady, calm, and filled with something deeper than pride, clarity. She shared new plans for the company, a charity collection for single mothers, new partnerships, fresh designs. Every word felt like a brick being laid into the foundation of her return. Noah darted around the room, chasing sunlight that danced on the floor. His laughter wove through her words like a melody, reminding her of what she was fighting for. Emily, Vio, when the storm ends, you do not rebuild the same house. You build a stronger one. Days later, Emily sat at the window as autumn leaves brushed against the glass. Her phone buzzed. The name Ryan flashed across the screen. For a moment, she hesitated. Then she answered. Ryan, Emily. I know you do not want to hear from me. Emily, then why are you calling? Ryan, quietly, because I owe you something. The truth. His voice was strained, stripped of the confidence it once carried. Ryan, the company let me go. They said my work slipped. Maybe it did. Chloe's debts grew worse. The bank called. They are coming for everything. Emily, I am sorry, Ryan. Ryan, do not be. I did this. I kept thinking if I held control long enough, I could fix everything. But I was fixing the wrong things. The silence between them was fragile, but clean, no blame, no fire. Ryan, I did not see what I had until I lost it. Emily, sometimes losing is the only way to learn value. A long pause. Then Ryan spoke again, softer. Ryan, is Noah all right? Emily, he is happy. He sleeps peacefully now. Ryan, voice trembling, good. He deserves peace, more than I ever gave him. Emily looked out at the golden trees, her heart tightening not with anger, but with acceptance. Emily, Ryan, I hope one day you forgive yourself. That is the only way you will change. Ryan, and you? Have you forgiven me? Emily, forgiveness is not a door you open for someone. It is a bridge you walk over for yourself. The call ended. The screen went dark. That evening, the house glowed in the soft amber of sunset. Emily sat on the floor beside Noah as he lined up his toy animals in neat rows. He looked up suddenly, his eyes bright. Noah, Mom, I want to give you something. He ran to his small backpack and pulled out a box cardboard, painted with blue stars. Inside was a new piggy bank, shaped like a smiling whale. Noah, Grandpa helped me find it, so we can save again. Emily, whispering, save for what, sweetheart? Noah, for dreams. The good ones. The ones that stay. Her breath caught. She touched the ceramic whale, feeling the warmth of his small hands still upon it. Emily, teary, it is beautiful. Noah, will you write the name? She reached for a marker and wrote one simple word on its side, dreams. Noah, do you think dreams can break, Mom? Emily, smiling through tears, yes, they can. But when they do, we build stronger ones. He nodded solemnly, then laughed as she pulled him into an embrace. His laughter echoed against her heartbeat pure, forgiving, alive. That night, Emily finished another call with her team. A new collection had just gone live the renewal line. It was inspired by hope, by motherhood, by the grace of rebuilding from ruins. Orders were flooding in. Her brand was rising again, not because of strategy or luck, but because authenticity breathes louder than ambition. She closed the laptop and stepped outside. The night air was cool, the stars steady above. Her father's old porch light flickered on, bathing the small garden in silver. Noah ran to her, barefoot, holding the whale piggy bank close. Noah, look, Mom. Fireflies. She knelt beside him, watching the small sparks float through the air-tiny lights against the darkness. Emily, view some nights, the world feels small enough to hold. Some dreams, fragile enough to start again. She looked down at her son. Emily, we will keep saving Noah. For laughter. For light. For tomorrow. Noah, and for whales. Emily, laughing softly, especially for whales. They laughed together under the quiet stars. The camera pulled back slowly the mother, the child, the soft glow of the porch, and the whale-shaped piggy bank between them, gleaming faintly like a promise. Emily, Vio, some dreams break, so we can build stronger ones. The wind brushed through the trees. The light grew warmer. And for the first time, the world did not look broken. It looked whole. When the final scene fades, and the laughter of Noah and the soft hum of the night dissolve into silence, something lingers. It is not the sound of heartbreak, nor the echo of betrayal. It is the quiet strength of a woman who chose to rebuild, one truth at a time. Emily's story does not end with revenge or regret. It ends with clarity, the kind that arrives only after every storm has spent itself. She did not win by shouting louder or fighting harder. She won by standing still in her truth, by refusing to let bitterness define her. There is a certain beauty in watching a life fall apart just enough to reveal what was real all along. The house she left behind, the man who mistook pride for love, the silence that once suffocated her, they all became mirrors, showing her what she had forgotten, that peace is not given. It is chosen. Sometimes, the greatest courage is not walking away from the pain, but walking through it with grace. Emily carried her child, her faith, and her quiet dignity through a world that tried to shrink her. And in doing so, she proved that strength does not always roar, it often whispers, steady and unwavering, in the voice that says, I will not break here. We live in a world that tells us to hide our scars, to polish our smiles, to pretend we are fine. But maybe it is the cracks that make us human. Maybe it is the breaking that allows the light to seep in. Emily learned that the pieces of her broken life were not meant to be discarded, they were meant to be rearranged into something stronger, something truer. If you have ever loved and lost, if you have ever stayed too long in the wrong story, let this remind you, it is never too late to rewrite your ending. You do not need permission to begin again. You do not need validation to be enough. The power to rebuild is already yours, quiet, waiting like a spark beneath the ashes. And as Emily once told her son, some dreams break, so we can build stronger ones. If this story touched something within you, if it reminded you of your own strength, or made you believe, even for a moment, that healing is possible, share your thoughts below. Your words may reach someone standing where Emily once stood. And if you wish to walk beside more stories like this, stories of love, loss, and the light that stays, remember to stay with us, to listen, and to subscribe. Because sometimes, the story you need to hear is the one that finds you when you are ready to begin again.